Hey guys, it's Linux Benchmarks here, and in today's video, we're going to be looking at KDE's new desktop release, Plasma 6, which just came out a couple of days ago, finally. I mean, it's been in development for like over a decade, I think now, and there is so many new things in this desktop, and I would say it's one of KDE's best desktop releases ever. I mean, I wasn't there when like Plasma 4 came out, so I probably didn't get to experience how atrocious that was, but Plasma 6 seems to be a really good release. The amount of features that are already included in this release alone is just insane, and the amount of improvements with things like WAYLAND support, just truly a really good update. And I want to show you guys the new features that are included, my experience when playing games on it, also the bad things I've experienced so far running it on Endeavour OS/Arch Linux, and yeah. But before we start today's video, here is a word from our sponsor. Today's sponsor is Proton VPN, one of the most secure and private VPNs in the world with over 3K servers in 71 countries. Try it out for free to see if you like it, with Proton VPN supporting Android, Windows, Mac OS, even Linux, the operating system that I use. Pay $10 a month with 30-day back guaranteed if you don't like it. Also, Proton VPN offers Proton Mail, one of my favorite mailing applications that protects your emails with end-to-end encryption, so no one can read them at all, no matter how hard they try. If you really want to try what Proton VPN has to offer, go to the link in the description and sign up today. So one of the first things you might already see is the new wallpaper, which if we do check this out here, we go configure desktop wallpaper. It is made by this artist, which they did a community contest for wallpapers, and this person won. So they made a light version and a dark version. I don't know if I can change it to light. I'm pretty sure I would have to change my theme to actually switch it to that. If we do it right now, as you can see, here is the light version, and then we'll switch it back. So it goes back to the dark version. And yeah, I would say this wallpaper, like out of 10, it's like a solid like 9 out of 10. I love this like meteor that's or comet or whatever it is that's coming down, and this tree looks pretty awesome and pretty welcoming for like new users that are installing a Linux distro that will have this as the default wallpaper when choosing KDE Plasma as their desktop. Now, one of the other things you may notice with this release is that it is using a floating panel now by default, which some people don't like, which is okay. You can easily turn it off. But for Plasma 6, they are going to use this floating panel as it looks unique, I would say, and it separates it apart from Windows as well, because on Windows 11, it looks kind of a bit similar to KDE Plasma, so that's why they decided to make it a floating panel. And if you do want to turn it off, you can go into the new editing mode, which, as we can see here, there is a bunch of new toggles that you can choose from. There is a position, which we can set here. We can set it for like the above, or we can do it again. We can do it to the side, or we can do it in the bottom, which is where I prefer put my all my apps and stuff. And we can also do an alignment. So basically, you know, if you want to do it to the left, to the right, to the center, and width if you want to fill the width, or fit content. So if we do fit content, now it kind of looks like one of those docs that you see on like let's say Mac OS. You'll see like a floating dock that's kind of like this, very similar. And then also, like I said, there is this new UI as the one from Plasma 5. Wasn't that good looking, I would say. It was kind of a bit advanced for lots of people, and it may have confused a couple people who tried to move over to try KDE Plasma as a desktop. But if you want to turn off the floating, you can just click off this, and then now it's actually snapped to the bottom or wherever you decide to put it. And then the other one is we can change the opacity to adaptive, opaque, translucent, and then the visibility, where we can change if we wanted to auto hide, or if there's windows, for it to dodge those windows, or for the windows to go below it. And then we can also change the height. We can make it smaller or taller, depending, maybe if you have, let's say, poor eyesight, you want your icons to look bigger, you can easily do that. And one of the last things about this panel is if you, let's say, make a window full screen, the panel will basically fill, or for this instance, since it's it's zoomed like inwards, there is some spaces here, but if we, let's say, do this, it will snap the dock also to the bottom of the screen, or wherever the panel/dock is placed. replaced. And probably the next thing that you notice is the new Breeze cursor, which does look really nice. I would say I like how it is shorter in length and width, but it's like more like blunt, I would say. I don't know if that's the right term to say, but it's a very nice looking cursor. We can have a look at it here more of like that's the loading one, that's for like moving something, resizing something, clicking something, loading something with the cursor. Question mark. Overall, I would say it's a lot better than the older one that was used before. It kind of looks similar to this one, but not really. More closer to the new one, but just shorter. But overall, I think the new Breeze cursor plus this new wallpaper is a great addition so far. Now, one of the other things that have been introduced into Plasma 6 is a overhaul with the sound design of Plasma, which they created a new one called Ocean. Now, I can't play these sounds. This is probably one of the bugs that I've experienced so far, is that the Ocean sounds do not work for me. That's probably because I'm running the testing packages on Arch. That's probably why. When those come out officially on the Arch repositories, it'll probably be fixed. But for right now, you know, click these buttons, they don't make any sound. I'm pretty sure it does work on my laptop though, which is also running EndeavourOS with the Plasma 6 desktop. So I don't know what the problem is necessarily, but I'll play up the sounds probably of like a video that I'll find. I'll show it up on screen right now of what they do sound like, and I would say they are amazing. Their sounds are just awesome when you plug in a new device or whatever. It's very you could say it's very soothing, I guess. Alright, so here is a sound test of the new Ocean system sounds on Plasma 6, which does work on my laptop that is running EndeavourOS. So here's a test of it. The Ocean one. Then we got Bell Window. And then we got Dialogue Warning. And then we got Message New Instant. And then we got Battery Caution. And then we got Device Added. So I think this is way better than the one that was on before on Plasma 5, and I'm pretty sure me in the video agrees with that also. So yeah, back to the actual video that you guys are watching currently. But it is a nice addition to the Plasma 6 release. We can also look at one of the new things, which is a tab switcher. This was already a thing in Plasma 5, I'm pretty sure, but it was like a lot more older in terms of the design they were thinking of. So now when you do it, it is a lot better. So I have 3 windows open. I have my my script for my video, and then we have OBS, and then we have system settings. And this works on like just about any application, and it has a very nice animation for switching to these applications back and forth. And we also do have a new overview design as well. So if you do Windows G or Super G, it opens up this where you can create new like desktops or workspaces. That's what people like to call it. But we can just, you know, press Windows G, go to this new one, or we can press Windows G and we can go back to the old one, which is the one we're on right now. So I would say this is a really cool design. I forgot who made this, but pretty sure it was like Merck, I think his name is. He did a really good job designing this, and the tab switcher I'm guessing he also did. So really good props to, you know, the designers who have been designing all these UI elements. Really just smooth experience, I would say, when pressing these buttons and the animations working. Also with the new overview that is in Plasma 6, there is a redesign that's getting made right now, which will be available in Plasma 6.1. I'll show up some screenshots of what that looks like, and I would say if we just look at this one and I show up that screenshot, I would say that the newer overview looks way better than the one that is current. It includes like a search, and it includes like your apps overview still, but it includes like a search function, and then for you to like create like new desktop for you. So I would say that this redesign is a lot better than the one current, but even though the current one is really good anyways in Plasma 6. And probably the next big addition is if you use the Discover store. That got a big redesign as well. Not really a big redesign, but just a reshuffle and then a new page on the home page. So now there's a newly published and recently updated. So you can see new updates that have, you know, been published or that have been recently updated. You can see here like Discord Canary got an update. That's cool. But we can also hear on the left side, this got reordered. So instead of this stuff being on the bottom, it's now at the top, which I would say is a lot better. So you can get your updates quicker, check your settings and all that stuff. And then the categories have been put down to the bottom instead. So I would say this is really good. But also, when you do click on an application, let's say Spotify, there is a new design for showing off the applications themselves. So they show the screenshots are more closer, and it shows a nice little color tint as well of the application. So this, I would say, is a really nice addition, and improves what I didn't like about Discover, which was it didn't have a newly published and updated page like it does on GNOME software. So them adding that is really nice, and it makes it a lot more easier for me, so I don't have to go to the FlatHub website. I can just go to the Discover store. And probably one of the biggest changes in the Plasma desktop is the settings app, which got a big change with how things are categorized. So if we look here, we've got input and output, we've got connected devices, the internet, appearance and style, apps and windows, workspaces, security and privacy, language and time, and system. But just in that, making all that, they've moved everything around, reordered things, which I would say makes the settings application actually understandable now. As before on Plasma 5, I often would get confused of where to go because it's just a little bit different compared to other operating systems like Windows, for example, or if we use like the GNOME desktop. I would say the GNOME desktop is ordered very nicely and they've thought out, which is really good. But Plasma 5 always had a weird order of things in different categories, which didn't really make sense. And with Plasma 6 and reordering all this, I would say they've improved so much and have moved everything to the correct places, I would say, that are like closest to being like understandable. So for example, like they moved Nightlight to colors and themes. They've moved like display and monitor, sound, mouse and touchpad, game controller, all at the top in an input and output section, and a bunch of other things like security and privacy that got moved in together, and the system that's been bunched all together properly. So you got the about, energy, software, users, auto start, and session. So I remember like session and like auto start used to be in like, it was in I can't remember where it was. It used to be in like general behavior, or it used to be in like display and monitor for some reason, or in like colors and themes, which didn't really make sense. So I would say this is a really good update. Reordering this, it just makes a whole lot more sense. But one of the other things is they have added finally a wallpaper setting in settings, which is a really good addition. So now you can change your wallpapers in the settings application. And before, if you didn't know, on Plasma 5, the only way you could change a wallpaper was either right clicking on the desktop and going configure desktop and wallpaper, or let's say you found an image in the index or whatever in Dolphin, you could apply that as a set wallpaper. But there was no actual setting for wallpaper in settings, which was quite annoying. But it wasn't really a problem as much. But it is really good to see that they finally added it. So you can set a wallpaper for like all screens if you want to, or you can set them individually. You can also get new plugins. So if you use like the live wallpaper plugin, that Steam application for applying live wallpapers, you can use that if you want to, and that should work. We can also look at the new stuff in display and monitor. So one of the things that the KDE developers have been working on is improving WAYLAND support, and with just improving WAYLAND support, actually been able to add HDR support and color profiles. So that's really, really good to see. And that brings a lot of new users over to Linux because we can finally say to them, hey, HDR works, fractional scaling works properly as well under Plasma, and VRR properly works now as well. Because like before on Plasma 5 with VRR under WAYLAND, I had some flicker issues on my monitor at pretty not really low FPS, like 60 FPS. I would start to get like pretty heavy flicker on some games like Overwatch and like the menu, or Apex Legends in the menu. I would get some heavy flickers on the monitor, but now with Plasma 6, those no longer happen. So that's really good to see. So I can just play those games now with VRR enabled and basically get like a pretty low latency when it comes to playing competitive FPS games, and just having a smooth experience so that I don't get those missed frames. Those frames are coming out correctly. But like before I said, there is HDR now. So this does also work on my monitor. If I click enable HDR, it comes up with SDR brightness and SDR color intensity. My god, I know I mucked up that word. But we have some sliders here that we can change, and I would say this is my correct one right now. If you put it any higher, it starts to become really saturated, which some people may like. You may really like really bright saturated colors, but for me, I like to keep it kind of balanced, more of close to like an sRGB color, so like things are accurate when I'm like creating thumbnails. But usually I just leave this disabled anyways. But we can also do color profiles, like I said before, so you can grab ICC profiles from the internet if you want to. And I have grabbed this and tested this, and it does work. If you go to one of the official color websites for grabbing profiles, you can download those and use them, and they will work perfectly fine, both on my laptop and on my desktop. They both do work properly. But one of the issues I would say that isn't really figured out yet is if you want to use HDR in games, it's going to be a bit difficult to do that. You're going to have to use a bunch of different launch commands to actually get it to work. And usually, I think you have to use GameScope as well. As I was doing a bit of research, and it seemed like you had to use GameScope with HDR enabled in GameScope, and then enable some other environment variables to actually get HDR enabled within the game. So it's a work in progress still. It's really good to see that we have HDR enabled in Linux now. We can actually enable it, and it does activate properly. But when it comes to actually using HDR in games, or even in like videos and browsers, it seems like it's a bit of a hassle still. And that's just something to do with, I guess, Proton and Wine. Those things will have to be worked out so that it can work with the WAYLAND compositor with HDR. But overall, this update, I would say, for display and monitor and WAYLAND is really good. We also see here that screen tearing got moved, so now it's no longer in a separate thing, and they actually did delete the side panel that would come up. There was some like 3 options you could select. I forgot what they were, but you can no longer select those in WAYLAND. It's now just, and that's why screen tearing was moved into just display configuration. But like I said, overall, really good update with display and monitor. So if we have a look at what else has been redesigned in Plasma 6, there is the energy saving. That got a redesign, which I would say has a lot more simpler options for configuring things for energy saving, for like power button press, which for me is always going to be shut down. A period of activity, you can change that to sleep, hibernate, shut down. You change your screen brightness, you dim automatically, you turn off screen. Show up maybe a screenshot of Plasma 5 of the older energy saving, and I would say this one is just way better in general. The older one was way more not confusing necessarily, just it was a bit more like advanced, I would say. This is more, things are being cleaned up and it looks a lot better in my opinion. We also had Nightlight that was moved to color and theme. So now if we do like a custom time or something for Nightlight, there's a cool visual now as well of when the nightlight will be turned on and then when the nightlight turned off. And we can change, of course, like the temperatures and stuff like before, and we get to see a preview of it, which you guys probably can't see that preview as it's actually happening on my monitor. But nice sliders, and I would say this is a welcome addition to the newest Plasma release. And then also the login screen got moved to color and themes, which I mean kind of makes sense because you're applying like a wallpaper and you're kind of changing like UI elements. So I would say that this does make a lot more sense than where it was before, which I can't remember where it was, but I'm pretty sure it was more confusing of where it was before. So this looks more in line of where it should be in the settings application, I guess. And one other thing that got redesigned was the default applications, which I actually really enjoy seeing this, because before it was a lot more confusing of how default applications really worked, and you kind of had to properties on a file and then change it through that way, because there's like 2 ways you can do this, either through settings or through properties on like a video file, for example, and you can then change the order of what app should open as the main application. But now you can just go to default applications and you can just click on whatever you want. So for my music player, I'm using G4 Music, and then for like web browser, Firefox, image viewer, Gwen view. So this is way easier and more in line with other operating systems, in my opinion. And then if you want to get even more advanced, you can do file association. So we can click on audio, for example, and we can change an individual file format. So like MP4, for example, you can decide if we want that application, that file to open whatever application. So for example, I could open it on Embryo or VLC Media Player, either one. And probably one of the biggest things overall that I really can't explain to you all is the bug fixes that have been included in Plasma 6. There is literally so many bug fixes. It is truly insane, the amount that is included in this update, that honestly, I can list a bunch of different like applications that have been bug fixed a bunch. So like Blue Devil, Breeze, Discover, K Pipewire, K Screen, K Wayland, K Win, Lib Plasma, Plasma Audio Volume Control, Plasma Workspace, the XG Desktop Portal for KDE, and system settings, and tons of other applications have been fixed with all the bugs that were on the KDE bug website. You can actually go to the website if you want to look at bugs. I've put out a couple bugs for like games specifically on Plasma. Like at the moment, there is a bug with Apex Legends where you can actually push out the cursor out of a full screen game of Apex Legends if you flick your mouse hard enough under Wayland. Pretty sure the Plasma developers or KDE developers, they said that it was specifically a wine issue more likely than a Plasma issue. I don't really know which one really it is, but that's just one bug that I have encountered on Plasma 6. And I guess we could go into the Wayland experience on Plasma 6. How has that been when using it? And honestly, it's been really good. Switching to Wayland has been mostly a seamless experience. I've been trying to use Wayland since, like 2 years ago. I've been trying to use it ever since I basically switched to Linux. But I would say with Plasma 6 and them working really hard on Wayland and them choosing Wayland by default means that like the experience is only just going to get better. So even if I experience some issues on Wayland, it's mostly going to be fixed within their next releases of Plasma. And I guess I could go into like some of the issues that I've had with Plasma 6, and that being one where if I log into Plasma 6, it literally is a black screen and only my cursor shows up, and I have to move my cursor to wake up the display, basically. Not the display, but the UI elements and the wallpaper and the shortcuts. If I move my cursor, all that stuff like wakes up. But if I don't move my mouse cursor, it just sits black with the cursor, and that's it, nothing else. And I'll show up a video of what it looks like when I do that. It's basically whenever I first boot up my PC. This occurs. And then probably the other you should have had is probably the theming issues with XDG desktop portals, which some other people have had those issues encountered on some applications where the theming isn't correct because Flatpak can't see the themes that you're using on your system machine. So then you have these issues like the cursor's really big. And I could show an example of that. If we open an app called Stremio, this is one that has an experience. We can see here that the cursor is really big on Stremio. Even though everything else is mostly looking fine, it's just because it can't see properly our theme of Plasma Breeze cursor, which would be this cursor here. So that's the only issue I've encountered, and other people have said, like someone in my comments like yesterday had this issue, and I explained to them it might have been an XGG problem, and they said it was, and the only app that really caused it was Stremio. So I'm pretty sure this might be specifically an application thing where the developers need to update their dependencies or permissions or whatever with XGG desktop portals to actually fix the theming issue with things like having a big Adwada cursor theme. So one of the things we have right now in Plasma 6 is the fake session restore, which is basically, as it says, is a fake session restore. So what they're working on right now is a protocol for session restore on Wayland, because Wayland doesn't have a session restore, where your apps can basically save a current state, and then when let's say you log out of your computer and you log back in, then those apps stay open basically, or they reopen. So what the Plasma developers decided to do was create a fake version of this where basically it just tries to open the applications as quickly as possible instead of actually, doing a real one where they have like a protocol set up where, they don't actually open, they just save a current state. Instead, it just tries to literally open the applications before you see the applications open. So you get this fake session restore, which honestly, I could stay with that option for a while. I don't use session restore, but if that was something that I wanted to do, I could just use the fake one and it would work probably fine because my computer is rather fast enough to open those applications. Like I said, they are working on a protocol that is almost finished, so it should be ready in like Plasma 6.1, I would say, but it might be later down the line as well. So one of the last big things that probably people are thinking about is playing games on Plasma 6. How has that been specifically under WAYLAND, which it has been a pretty decent experience. I've played countless of different games. I've played Overwatch 2. I've played the finals. I've been playing that basically every day for probably like 10 hours straight, I would say, every day. And I'm almost at 300 hours on the game. And I've been really enjoying it under Linux and seeing all the improvements on that game specifically, like with Mesa and Proton. That's been improving a lot. But when it specifically becomes to playing games on WAYLAND, it has been a really good experience. And it probably is a decent experience on NVIDIA as well. I'm not sure when using the proprietary drivers, but I would say when kernel 6.8 comes out and Mesa 24.1 comes out, which will be near the end of this month, I think, you will be able to basically play games on your NVIDIA card without the proprietary drivers, and you can use the NVK drivers. So that's really good to see with Vulkan 1.3 and a bunch of other patches and enabling like rebar support for NVK driver. You can basically play almost any game. I'm pretty sure there is a lot of bugs still when it comes to playing games through like DXVK and VKD3D especially. And I remember hearing one of the main developers of NVK saying that playing games through VKD3D isn't really ready yet. But if you use that, let's say you use the NVK driver and you combine it with kernel 6.8, Mesa 24.1, and then the Plasma 6 desktop under WAYLAND, you would get a pretty good experience when using Plasma 6. And even like today, someone sent out a comment saying that they were using the NVK driver and it was running amazing under WAYLAND, and there was no stutters anymore in specific applications like Firefox and Steam, so no glitchiness in Steam. So I would say playing games on Plasma 6 under my RX 6700 has been amazing, and especially under WAYLAND, games run amazing now with VRR enabled as well, and there's no flicker issues anymore with VRR, and screen tearing will be ready in 6.8, so if you don't have VRR on your monitor, then you can use screen tearing under XWAYLAND with the latest Mesa patch, and probably with NVK at some point that will probably introduce that mode. So overall, I would say that, yeah, playing games in Plasma 6 has been amazing. And probably the last thing I'll probably talk about is Plasma Mobile, which if you don't know, the Plasma developers also don't just work on a desktop environment. They also work on a mobile desktop environment. Not really desktop, it's just a mobile variant of the Plasma desktop, and it works on phones. And they did actually release Plasma 6 Mobile at the same time as Plasma 6 Desktop. So if you have a phone that does support, let's say, Postmarket OS, that is one mobile Linux OS that you can install on your phone, I would definitely give it a try if you have like a spare phone like I do. I have a Poco F1 and it's currently running Plasma 6 right now, and audio doesn't work for some reason, and things like I think my camera doesn't work properly either, and sound and some other things don't work properly. But when it actually comes to like using the phone, it is quite a decent experience, and especially the newest version of the mobile desktop that they have, it's really good now. So like you can like move like shortcuts around, you can create like a dock, and you have like an app drawer as well, similar to like Android. It's very similar to that, and there's a lot of customization that you can do, which I'll probably do a separate video on Plasma 6 Mobile just to show you guys all the new things with that. As I did have a Android channel a while ago, a couple of years back, where I did custom ROM reviews, so I can definitely do a video on Plasma 6 Mobile. But probably the other thing is the KDE app redesigns that have happened with KDE Gear, as the KDE developers like to call it, where they have a bunch of different application suites like Dolphin, Discover, Kden Live, and that was probably one of the best applications for me personally, was the not really a redesign, but just a reshuffle of the UI on Kden Live. So you can actually check it out right now, and it's really good. I would say they've reordered things pretty well. I've actually moved some things around, but if you didn't know, this is the application that I use for editing these videos, and it's probably not the best editing tool, but it's definitely the best on Linux besides DaVinci Resolve. That's definitely the best editor that you can use. Probably the only really good editor that you can actually use. But besides that, Kdenlive is a free application that you can use to cut and add effects and fonts and all stuff on your videos. And overall, this got a good refresh, and I'm excited for the KDE developers to add extra things like hardware acceleration. That's going to be really good to see, because using CPU on the timeline when cutting these really long videos is really challenging, because my CPU starts to really struggle with like editing 1440p videos. So hopefully they add hardware acceleration. Overall, my conclusion is that Plasma 6 probably one of the best releases in a desktop environment that I've seen in so long when it comes to just like a desktop release. There's so many new things in here that I think a lot of people will enjoy using, and for right now, I'm pretty sure Plasma 6 is available on KDE Neon. That had a couple little bugs, but I'm pretty sure those are fixed now. So you can go use KDE Neon stable if you want to try out Plasma 6. For me, I'm on Arch Linux, so I'm using the extra testing repo to get these packages, and they should be in the stable extra probably by I would say like maybe the middle of this month, maybe sometime. Overall, I would say, yeah, this is probably one of the best Plasma 6 Plasma desktop releases ever, I would say. So if you guys enjoyed watching this video of all the new things that have been shown, definitely give it a like, and you can definitely subscribe to the channel. We are at like 3,100 something subscribers, which is awesome to see, so thank you for that. You can comment down below if I missed any new things that are included in Plasma 6, as I know there's a bunch more things that I definitely did miss, but it was just some of the things that I personally liked seeing in this release. And thank you to the sponsor of the video also, Proton VPN. They're a lit VPN provider, probably the best VPN provider that you could use. So I would definitely go use that link in the description to sign up. And thank you to my supporters as well on the YouTube channel. I'll show that up on screen, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.